Hey, sports card fans, it's John Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. I don't have any cards to show off in this video. What I wanted to do is talk about a subject that impacts everyone that buys sports cards off of eBay, and that is, are auctions or buy it now listings the best way to buy sports cards on eBay? So what I did was I put a list of pros and cons together of each type of selling format, and I wanted to go over them, discuss them with you, and hope that you provide some comments on your thoughts, your experiences, whether I missed any pros or cons. And so let's start off with buy it now listings. Now, the main pro and really the only pro that I listed for buy it now listings is that you can get the card right away. You see a card, you're comfortable with the price, you hit buy it now, and it's yours. Simple, easy, done. It's like going into a store that you're looking for something, you go in, you find it. If you like the price, you buy it and you walk away with it. It's the easiest listing, I think, on eBay. It's the simplest. Again, you see something, you like it, you're comfortable with the price, you hit buy it now and it's yours. For the cons, I came up with 3 cons though, that again, these pros and cons are from the concept of the buyer. Now, some of the cons for a buyer may be a pro from the seller's standpoint and vice versa. And I'll occasionally talk about the seller's perspective, but this is mainly talking about us buying sports cards on eBay for our collection. So the first con that I came up with for buy it now listings is that in my experience, and this may be only lately, maybe since the bubble with the pandemic and the higher prices and so on, even though there has been a pullback in a lot of the prices, I found that more often than not, buy it now prices, at least the ones that I've seen, are well above comps or at the high end of comps. So from a buyer, I'm always looking to spend the least amount of money for a card. And from a seller standpoint, obviously they want the most amount of money for the card. So I've seen some that, again, I look at the buy it now price, I see what the comp is, especially for graded cards. And I've noticed more often than not, that they're way up there, that either at the top of the highest recent sales price or maybe even above that. And I'm just not willing to pay that. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. If there is a card that is rare or really hard to find, you've been looking for this particular card for a year or 2 or even more, and you finally see one pop up on eBay, and it has a buy it now price that's somewhat high, well, you may have to make a decision and say, look, I don't know when I'm going to see this card again. Yeah, it may be on the high end, but I'm willing to pay it. And so in that case, a listing that may be at the high end or above comps, because it's so hard to find or there are not many listings, it may be something where from a buyer's standpoint, you may just have to say, you know what, all right, I'll pay the extra amount because I really want that card, and I don't know when I'm going to see another one like it again. To me, that's more an exception than the rule, at least for the cards that I'm looking at buying. These are either Wade Boggs cards or vintage baseball cards that they're not rare. I don't want to say a dime a dozen, but you look up listings, and for the most part, there are multiple options, multiple listings of a particular card. So I, as a buyer, have options. So if I see a buy it now that is listed at the high end or above comps, I just say, all right, I'm not interested in that one, and I look for other options. So to me, that's probably the biggest con to buy it now listings is that as a buyer, sometimes the prices are just way too high. The second con that I thought of for buy it now listings is that not all buy it now listings uh, provide a best offer option. Of course, that's at the option of the seller. If the seller is not interested in accepting offers, then it's a take it or leave it. And even when I've seen some that do have a best offer, I'll put in an offer that I think is fair, and I've gotten responses back, okay, well, I'll go down 5% off my listing. Well, if it's a card that's listed at the very, very high end of comps, 5% is not much of an offer. And sometimes I question, even though some sellers provide that best offer, are they really interested in accepting a lower offer? Now, again, another exception to that con is I've seen videos where someone says, man, I saw this listing and I threw in what I thought was a lowball offer, and wow, they accepted it. Or maybe they didn't accept the initial lowball offer and came down to a price and maybe another counter offer, and you do end up getting a good deal. That does happen. But again, it all depends on the listing, the seller mainly, and how much they're willing to negotiate. But one of the cons, again, to buy it now listings is not every buy it now listing comes with that best offer option. Now, the third one, which is not quite a repeat of my previous con, is that a buy it now doesn't leave any opportunity to negotiate. I go by the philosophy that Mike Baseball Collector does, and I rarely pay sticker. I'm always looking to pay less than sticker, or in the case of buy it now or auctions, the sticker would be the comp. I'm always looking to buy cards around the average comp, or even better, maybe slightly below that. That's my ultimate goal. I don't always do that, but that's my overarching philosophy in buying cards, obviously to spend the least amount of money as possible. So with a buy it now listing, especially without a best offer option, there's no opportunity to negotiate. Now, I have seen some people mention that they'll find out who the seller is, and maybe they have a website, maybe it's a card shop, that they can go outside of eBay, make contact with them and say, hey, I notice you have this listing on eBay with a buy it now of X. Hey, can we work out a deal so maybe you don't have to pay eBay listing fees, and I don't have to pay sales tax or this or that, and you can come up with some deal outside of eBay. I know eBay doesn't quite like that, but I know it happens on occasion. I've never done that. I've never tried to go outside of eBay and try to make a deal on the side to get that card, but I know that happens on some occasions. But other than that, there's no opportunity to negotiate. And I see buy it now listings sort of as a win-lose scenario. And by that, what I mean is you have a card that the seller lists at a buy it now price of X. And if there are buyers out there that are not willing to pay that amount for that card, then to me, the seller is the loser because he's not able to sell the card. And the buyer is sort of the winner, especially if they have other options and can get the card either through a lower buy it now price or an auction and pick up the card cheaper than that one buy it now listing. So there's a winner and a loser, at least in my mind, for buy it now listings. So let's get into auctions. All right, so the main pro that I found came up with for auction listings on eBay is that, at least in my experience, I can often pick up a card for less than a similar card that has a buy it now. It's sort of intuitive, at least to me, that if I see a card that is listed with a buy it now price, say for $50, and I see a similar card, whether it be maybe if it's a graded card, it's the same grade, same general eye appeal. So I have two options. I have a buy it now at 50, and let's say the auction starts off at 20 bucks. Well, I'm not going to bid more than $50 on the auction, because it doesn't make sense to do that, because I could pick it up here for buy it now for $50. So my maximum bid is going to be less than $50. Now, have auctions ended where the sales price is more than a comparable buy it now listing? I've seen it happen. I think it's maybe a lack of just searching or due diligence on the part of the buyer to know that, hey, there's a buy it now listing out there for the same exact card, and maybe you got in the heat of an auction, you're battling back and forth with someone, they're outbidding you, you're outbidding them toward the end of the auction, things get carried away, and you say, hey, I just want this card, I want to outbid that other person. I can see it happening. I can also see, again, not knowing that there's another buy it now option. But I think for the most part, without those exceptions, normally you can buy a card cheaper through an auction than a comparable buy it now. So that's the main pro for auctions that I came up with. The one con is that with auctions, you may miss out on the auction. Okay, it's a 7-day listing. You may put a reminder on it and have your phone remind you, hey, it's 15 minutes before the end of the auction. I've missed those notifications. I've picked up my phone, whether it's because I'm at work or at home, I'm doing something, and I look at my phone and go, oh shoot, I missed the auction. I didn't get my bid in. I personally like to wait to the very end of the auction to put my bid in. And so I've missed out on some auctions because I just miss it. So then with that auction, then you miss that opportunity to buy the card. Now, there are some ways around that. You could always put in a early bid. Hey, all right, here's the auction. I may not be around at the end of the auction, so I'm just going to put in my best offer, my highest bid right now. I know there's 3-4 days to go, but here's the most amount I'm willing to spend. You put your bid in, and then you can forget about it. There are some snipe tools out there where you can put in the listing, your maximum bid, and it does it all for you. You don't have to worry about it. I've never used a snipe tool. I think I could get in trouble with a snipe tool where I may put in multiple bids, and heaven forbid if I win all of them, then it may not be good. So I personally, I've always stayed away from the sniping tools. I like to do everything myself, but with that comes the possibility, and that has happened to me, that I miss out on getting a bid in on time, and I miss out on the auction. And the second con is you can always get outbid. So again, buy it now is the easiest. You see a card, if you like the price, you buy it, it's done. With an auction, you may put your best price in and hope it's good enough. And trust me, I have over the years, especially with Boggs cards, I used to get so frustrated where, and very well could be some of my good friends that are fellow Boggs collectors. Obviously, I don't know who is bidding against me. But it would come down to like literally the last second. I'd put my bid in with maybe like 4 seconds to go, and it's spinning, and it doesn't look like it, or it looks like I'm the highest bidder, and then it ends and refreshes, and sure enough, with like a half second to go, I get outbid. And it is just, to me, it's like the worst feeling. It's like I was this close to getting the card, and then right at the end, I got outbid. Now, I've learned to be okay with that, knowing that, hey, there are other cards out there. I can't get all the cards, especially for Boggs. So it's it's less of an emotional roller coaster for me if I end up losing out at the last second on an auction, because there's always some other card out there that I could go after. It's rare now where there's a card that I absolutely have to have in my collection. The way my Wade Boggs collection and now to some extent my vintage baseball collection is going, there isn't a must-have that I've been going after lately where I would really feel bad if I lost out on an auction. And one way to combat that is just stick to a budget. Be comfortable saying that, hey, the most I want to pay for this card at this auction is $50. You put in that max bid. Hey, if someone is willing to pay more than that, you just have to say, all right, that wasn't good enough, and wait for the next opportunity. So I think when I talked about buy it now prices where there was a winner and a loser, in my mind, auctions provide more of a win-win. And the way I'm thinking of it is, from a seller standpoint, if you put a card up for auction, you're willing to accept whatever the final sales price is. Hey, this is some excess inventory, duplicates, whatever. I just need to maybe generate some cash to buy some other inventory, or just for my collection, hey, I need to sell these cards. I don't care what I get for it. Whatever the case may be, they're willing to accept what the end of that auction price is. And so they're happy. They sold the card and they're willing to accept whatever it goes for. And on the buyer side, as I mentioned, you're probably going to get it cheaper than a buy it now. And you're not going to overspend, because at the most, if you win, you're not going to be paying more than what you wanted to spend as a maximum. So to me, it's that negotiation standpoint. It's like going to a card show. Guy has $100 list price on it. You want to, you ultimately would want to pay 80. So you say, hey, will you take 60? Oh, no, 60 is too low. Will you do 90? Well, how about 70? Well, let's meet in the middle, 80. And okay, yeah, that's great. You have a happy seller and a happy buyer. So to me, auctions are more of a win-win scenario, where buy it now is sort of a take it or leave it. So would love to know in the comments, is there a format that you primarily use to buy cards off of eBay? Do you only look at buy it now listings, or do you only look for auctions? Or is it just based on the listing that you see? Hey, one's a buy it now. Hey, I'll buy that. Or hey, let me see if I can go after this auction and win that auction. I know for me, especially on when I was starting to build my vintage baseball card collection, I started off just looking at primarily buy it now listings. And I was doing pretty good in picking up cards that I didn't feel like I was overpaying. I felt like I was getting a decent deal for the card, and it just happened to be at buy it now listing, and it was easy for me to, like I said, I saw it, I was okay with the price, I hit buy it now, and the card was mine. But more and more as I get into building my vintage baseball card collection, especially once I started on my 100 card lists, the $100,000 list and the $10,000 list, especially the $10,000 list, I think other than the cards that I picked up at Strongsville, and I think all of them were negotiating type. I don't think I paid sticker for any card at Strongsville. So the ones I picked up on eBay for that list, I think every single one was an auction. And I paid less than other comparable copies that had buy it now prices. So again, that's from my perspective. So I would love to know, again, in the comments, what is your preferred method of an eBay listing that you tend to go with? Is it a mixture? Is it more buy it now or more auction listings? And with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.